You've been searching for the best way to generate passive income in your life and heard that real estate is a great way to do it. But you're tired of all the so-called gurus who are all talk and no substance. Get ready to celebrate because Kevin Bupp has spent 14 years successfully making it happen. This is the Real Estate Investing for Cash Flow podcast. Now, here's Kevin Bupp.
Hey guys, Kevin Bupp here, and I want to welcome you to another episode of the Real Estate Investing for Cash Flow podcast. Our mission is to help you build and maintain massive amounts of cash flow through income-producing real estate investments. And our guest for this week's show is co-founder and managing partner of Toro Real Estate Partners, John Cohen. Now, John is responsible for the day-to-day activities of Toro Real Estate Partners, including strategic direction of the company, formulation of investment strategy, acquisitions, dispositions, asset management, and investor relations. Now, as of this recording, Toro has 1,299 multifamily doors under ownership management, with another 453 slated to close by the end of the year. Now, prior to co-founding Toro Real Estate Partners, John founded JC Property Group, a real estate investment company with primary focus on value-add multifamily acquisitions. He has been investing in real estate since 2010, having started by buying tax deeds and tax liens. In 2013, he did over $3.25 million in real estate transactions as a residential broker. And in 2014, he switched his focus to the multifamily asset class and became a member of a group that closed $56 million worth of transactions. Now, before leaving markets in Millichap to focus 100% of his time on growth of his company, he was a team member of a group that sold over 26 multifamily properties in the Brooklyn and Queens marketplace. Now, before we get on to the show with John, I want to run through a few quick items with you guys. First and foremost, I hope you guys all had a wonderful Thanksgiving and just really had the chance to slow down and spend some quality time with those that are closest to you, friends, family, co-workers, whoever that might be for you, but those that are closest to you, they're near and dear to your heart. Now, I will say that both my wife and my 4-year-old, they were battling a cold, so our family stayed kind of hunkered down for the day. We kept to ourselves so that we wouldn't spread any of our germs. We keep them contained in our house and not give them, spread them to any of our loved ones or family members. But it was still a great day. Just very, very grateful for the many things, many blessings that I have in my life. And second off, guys, I want to mention something that really exciting happened with our company here in the last week or so. Actually, I guess a week and a half from the time this gets released. We just closed on another acquisition as a 4-star 122 space mobile home park located in Akron, New York, which is in the Buffalo MSA. In fact, just stay tuned because I'm going to be releasing a drive-through video podcast in the coming weeks on my other show, which is the Mobile Home Park Investing Podcast. I'm going to do a drive-through video that kind of gives you the first-hand experience of this park. Now, I will tell you that this is by far the nicest community that we own. And quite honestly, it's probably one of the nicest communities that I've actually ever even been through. A large number of the homes are double wides, and most of them have 1 or 2 car attached garages. The average sales price for homes that sell in this community hover around $85,000, with some that have sold for more than $120,000. These are used homes, so it's crazy. These are used mobile homes, and they're selling for darn near $100,000. Okay, and that does not include the land that they sit on, because it's a land lease community. So we lease that land to those homeowners. Now, the exciting part of this deal is that the community is 90% occupied. It's in excellent shape, and the lot rents are approximately 30 to 40% below market. There's actually 2 parks right down the road from the one we acquired. One of those is equally as nice as ours, while the other is a few notches below ours as far as quality is concerned. And the lowest rents in these other 2 communities start at $470 a month, and they go as high as $530 a month. And the park we just purchased has lot rents that range from $260 to $290. So we're incredibly excited about this one. There's lots of room to grow as far as the rents are concerned. And we are also able to structure some very attractive owner financing terms with the seller. But then we look forward sometime in the next couple of years placing long-term Fannie or CMBS debt in place once we get the rents up to marketplace. So anyway, I don't want to spoil the details for you guys in this one, but just be on the lookout in the coming weeks for more details, again, of that video drive-through podcast. I'm going to release it on our other show, which is the Mobile Home Park Investing Podcast. You can find it in iTunes. You can search it by that name, or you can search it by my name, Kevin Bupp, and you won't have a problem finding it. And that kind of leads me on to my next point. We're always seeking individuals, high net worth individuals that are accredited investors who have an interest in partnering with us on mobile home park deals, just like the one in there in New York. And you probably heard me a few weeks ago, I mentioned 2 other acquisitions that we just took down in Maryland. So we always have deals coming in the pipeline. Okay, we're always looking for partners who have an interest in teaming up with us and sharing in some of the wealth. So if you have an interest in learning more about our offerings that we have available, you can go to our investment website, which is sunrisecapitalinvestors.com. Again, sunrisecapitalinvestors.com. You can download our investment prospectus, get a hold of our PPM, read through it, and see if it might be a good fit for you. Lastly, guys, if you happen to be in the Tampa Bay area, love to meet up with you, okay? If you got some extra time, that's where we're based out of. We're based in Clearwater, which is about 20 or 25 minutes west of the Tampa International Airport. You can shoot me an email directly. It's my personal email address, kevin@kevinbupp.com. Let me know if you've got some time while you're in town, and we'll try to coordinate a get-together, breakfast, lunch, dinner, beer, whatever it might be, okay? Again, kevin@kevinbupp.com. Let me know when you're coming, and we'll work on coordinating our schedules together. So, guys, without further ado, I'd like to welcome John Cohen to the show. John, how you doing today, bud?
Not bad, Kevin. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, looking forward to it. But and it's we just passed Thanksgiving. We're actually recording the show on Black Friday, and John and I were actually joking about all the crazy people that are out there shopping. And John and I we're having much more fun by doing this interview than dealing with the crowds and the traffic and the crazy folks. In fact, I just read some updates, John, on I think it popped up on my whatever news app I have about some shootings and other crazy activities that have happened because of these Black Friday sales that are going on. I'd much rather be here with you, my friend. It sounds like a much more exciting place to be.
I couldn't agree more. I think it's definitely mayhem out there, and being inside and having a conversation with you isn't a bad alternative. Yeah. So I agree.
Yeah. Well, good deal. Well, John, if you would maybe take a few minutes. I gave a brief introduction of you and your background. I'm sure there's lots of gaps that need to be filled in. So why don't you take a few minutes, tell our listeners a little bit more about yourself, your background, and how you got into the multifamily space.
Sure. So I started actually out of college as a financial advisor, and starting, my mom called me up when I got out of college. She basically gave me an alternative, and she said, "Get a job or get out." And it was easy for me. Living in a house was a lot better than not. So she actually gave me a phone number from an article she cut out of the paper, and it was a financial advisor. So I called him up, set up an interview, sat down, and the guy's exact words out of his mouth were, "If you're money motivated, it's a great job, or if you're looking to cure cancer, you can get the F out." And I was like, "Oh, okay, that was aggressive, but yeah, I want to make some money. I'm young, I'm 21 years old, 22 years old. It sounds like a good option." So started that, did that for about 2.5, 3 years. And at the time, I would say about 2 years in, I decided that I didn't want to do it anymore. But if I was going to continue to do it, I thought that working in a better firm and a more established firm would be a better idea. So I actually got a job interview at Morgan Stanley. I went through a 9-month interview process that whole entire summer, ups and downs. And then they actually hired me. The first day I started was when Facebook IPO'd. And I literally walked in. Morgan Stanley was the underwriter for them. They were bringing them public. It did not do well. And I just saw mass catastrophe in the office. I saw people going crazy and cursing and screaming. And I at that time, I basically walked right back into the office of the guy who hired me. And I basically said, "Listen, I don't want to do this anymore." So I quit the day I got hired after going through a 9-month interview process, and decided that I wanted to do real estate. And so that's sort of what sparked the interest. While I was doing that, I bought a single family house. I bought some tax deeds here and there. So I was interested in it, and I wanted to make it more of a everyday business. So I quit my job as a financial advisor and became a real estate investor. Little did I know you make no money when you first start becoming a real estate investor. So I had to figure it out. So I got my license, started renting and selling apartments in Manhattan, and then flipped over to the commercial side as a multifamily investment sales broker for Marcus and Millichap. And ended up selling, worked for a team there in selling multifamily investments in Ridgewood, Bushwick, Bed-Stuy. And then from there, started interviewing my clients, or not interviewing, talking to my clients, just saying, "Hey, you guys are making more money than I am. What am I doing wrong?" So then I flipped onto the other side of the coin and became a real estate sponsor focusing on multifamily real estate.
Very interesting journey. So I want to back up a little bit. You had mentioned that you got your license, and you started by renting and selling multifamily. So were you, before you got with Marks and Millichap, were you just primarily like a leasing agent and you did some sales as well, or?
That was just renting and selling apartments was on the, it was just as like a regular renting it to people, whoever it may be. It was a regular real estate agent. So instead of just doing sales,
okay,
in the city, I was renting apartments to, a couple of my friends. And then, I ended up renting about 55 apartments my first year in the business. And that was just typical, bring them to buildings in the city, all from the Upper East Side, Upper West Side down to a financial district, just going all over the place.
So you're carting people around, maybe not necessarily driving, but yeah, you're the typical real estate agent. Yeah, weekends,
exactly, right.
Days, nights, whenever you got free time, you're showing units to prospective, I guess, renters or buyers. Got it.
Exactly, and that was sort of
quick.
Very quick. I'm talking about like the first couple months. I'm like, you're basically. I mean, you're like an Uber driver for real estate people. Like, that's all you're doing. You're literally taking people from building to building until they say yes. And if you, let them out of your site, more or less they're going to go rent it on their own, or they're going to rent it with another agent. So you're literally at they're your boss until they say yes or no. And I just didn't want to do that anymore. And the defining line for me is when I brought a couple into a building in Tribeca, and they did not have the budget to buy anything in Tribeca, and there was the perfect apartment came up. It was in their budget. It was a little bit higher than their budget, but they had to live there. They needed to be there, and they didn't want to put an offer on it because they didn't like the paint color of the apartment. And I was like, guys, between you and me, if you buy this apartment, I will paint it myself. I will pay for it. I will do everything because you can't afford anything in this area. So this is your best option. And that was basically the defining moment for me, where I went back to the drawing board and I said, okay, time to do commercial real estate, because I got to take the personal touch out of this, because you were just dealing with every single walk of life. And some people had crazy requests, and I'm like, what? Like, what do you need that for? Or why do you want to pay this much money for an apartment where you have no windows? So it was just, that was the defining line. When the paint color threw them off, that was a red flag for me, and I was like, okay, let's do something that makes a little bit more money.
So the difference between residential and dealing with those types of buyers and on the commercial side is you've got emotions, which is on the residential side, versus numbers, factual data, on the investment commercial side, right? A completely different type of individual that you're dealing with. And not that doesn't exist on the residential side, or vice versa, that there's not commercial buyers that are emotional and that will make decisions based on, paint colors or building layouts or just something just inconsequential to the deal itself. But for the most part, you're dealing with more sophisticated purchasers or buyers on the commercial side. So I want to talk about you getting involved or making that switch and going over to a team with Marks and Millichap. I've been told, now I've never worked for Marks and Millichap. I've never been a licensed agent or broker, but I've been told that Marks and Millichap has one of the, if not the best, training programs on the brokerage side. Is that correct? And if so, I guess it's all subjective, right? What that answer might be, but I want to hear from you as far as, did you find that to be a valuable experience going to work for a commercial brokerage firm that transacts a large number of deals? In fact, Marks and Millichap is the largest brokerage in the world, correct? Commercial real estate brokerage in the world?
It's top 10. Okay. I know for multifamily sales, because you got like Cushman & Wakefield, CBRE, and the bigger guys that do more international. But in the United States, especially in they definitely are up there for United States volume.
Got it.
But I will say, it is subjective, but I interviewed at all the firms, and, you go to CBRE or Cushman & Wakefield and you'll get a little bit of a salary or more or less a draw. But, I had guys at CBRE that say, you're not going to make any money for 10 years because you're working underneath this guy. This guy's going to be in this business for another 10 years, and you're never going to crack the code. You're going to have to find your own clients. And Marcus and Millichap's the opposite. They're not going to give you a draw. It's all commission-based, but it almost is industry standard that they do have the best training program. And I'll tell you that it doesn't teach you how to buy or sell. It just gives you, I guess it does, but it definitely is more encompassing, and you will have a real mentor that will walk you through the entire process from, databasing and finding potential sellers for, putting your database together all the way through the last listing appointment, and you have someone holding your hand throughout the whole process on top of, 3 or 4 meetings a week that are, your Monday morning meeting, your, first appointment meeting, your cold call meeting, and you're going through this every single week while you're there, furthering your expertise and building your knowledge. So I give them a ton of credit. By far, definitely helped me out, because when I stepped outside of Marcus & Millichap to become a sponsor, I will say hands down that, when I was going through the underwriting process and learning more about it, that I already knew, I didn't know, but I already knew that I already know this stuff. I'm like, wow, this is not that hard. And I give them all the credit in the world, because their program was fantastic. I mean, I've even gone so far to say, I have young kids approach me all the time. What would you do? I said, go get a job at Marcus & Millichap for 3 months.
Mm-hmm.
Don't tell them that you want to just go through their training program, but go there, do what they want you to do for 3 months, and then go off and do it on your own, because their training is excellent. I mean, it definitely goes through every single aspect of this business that you need to be successful for, or to at least have a good foundation.
Got it. And so how long, give me the time frame that you actually worked for Marcus & Millichap prior to coming to the realization that there is more money to be made on the other side of the table, right? Because that's kind of what happened. So, you saw all of your buyers. You're like, what the heck am I doing wrong here? I'm getting nice commissions, but that commission's one and done, right? I mean, now move on to the next deal, whereas your buyers are buying these properties and they're obtaining cash flow, right? And also any kind of accumulated equity on the back end should they sell the property down the road.
Exactly, and that was the defining moment for me. That we sold a ton of deals, but it was, you're only as good as your last deal, and if you never sold another one, there's no more income coming in. Mm-hmm. But my soup to nuts, my Marcus & Millichap, I stopped in April of 2014 was the last day in the office. Time flies, but my last day in the office was April 2014, and then there were some deals that I had in contract that were closing out, but officially it was probably 12, 15 months total from when I started at Marcus & Millichap to when I stopped working at Marcus & Millichap. So you don't have to be there for a long time. And I was at Marcus & Millichap during a time in New York or in Brooklyn and Queens where buildings were just selling so quickly and super. It was crazy. But you're only as good as your last deal. So I just saw that the cash flow, the passive, and then the defining moment was when we sold the same property 3 times in 1 year, and every single person made money on it. I said, okay, I'm doing something wrong.
Wow. Yeah. That's very interesting. And so you jumped out, you did your first deal, obviously. I want to hear about the first deal, right? Because the first one kind of sets the foundation of what the future of your business tends to look like. I mean, at least it gets you on the initial course that you're going to set off on, and that course can change down the road. But talk to us about the first deal, the size of it, where it was located, do you own it today? What was exciting about it? Like, what attracted you to it? Just give us some of the general details.
Yeah, so the first deal, it was a direct mail campaign. We sent a lot of that at Marcus & Millichap, and I also sent a lot of that on the single-family side. But it was a direct mail campaign that it was like the 3rd or 4th mailer that went out. It actually went to my property manager. My manager called me, or the manager that I targeted to be my manager. He called me and said, hey, we're moving offices, and I saw 3 stacks of mailers from you. And I got your deal. He's like, here, I'm going to introduce you to this owner. He's looking to sell. I know that. The property's in disrepair, but great deal. So he actually made the introduction. I called up the seller. We spoke. He said, I'm listing this property next week. You have till next week to make a decision. So I literally jumped in my car, drove to Columbus, Ohio. It was 10 hours away. I drove there toward the deal, met a couple brokers, literally got back in my car and drove home. It was 20 hours of driving for about 6-7 hours in the market, and called up the seller and said, okay, here's my price. We're good at this price. And that deal we bought, it was 70% occupied, needed significant CapEx dollars. There was violations on it. There's a tax lien. It was a disaster, but we bought it, renovated it. We actually ended up firing our manager shortly after that, because he just wasn't doing a good job. And then we actually sold that, and we owned it for about 18 months and did very well on that deal. Just from a return perspective for our investors, we executed our plan. I think if I would have known more, I probably would have done a little bit better on the deal. But overall, it was a fantastic deal, fantastic experience, and I would have done it all over again if the time if it presented itself again.
Okay, so give us some of the more micro level details. How many units total?
So it was 48 units.
Okay, and what'd you pay for it?
We paid $1,085, so almost $1.1 million.
So that would be just over about $22,600 per unit. All right, good deal.
Correct.
And when you guys bought that property, were you intending on getting in and doing the renovations, leasing up the remaining vacancies, and flipping it? Or was that initial part of your plan, or were you going to hold on to it, but maybe the market, had other plans for you as far as you had a great offer that came along that you couldn't refuse? What was the initial plans?
So it was a 7-year hold for us. Internally we had a 3-year loan. We had a 6-year loan that after the 3rd year reset. So it was the prepayment penalty went away in the 3rd year and the 6th year. So it was a 7-year hold for us, and our plan was to renovate it, lease up the units, re-tenant it, and then hold it for cash flow. I mean, that was the purpose. Mm-hmm. But as the market was doing really well, and we were getting rents that we didn't even project. I mean, our rents were significantly higher than what we thought we would achieve. A guy came in with an all-cash offer, closed in 35 days. So I was like,
wow. You
can't really say no to that. Also, the offer that he offered was higher than our year 7 valuation. So
wow. Yeah,
it was an easy decision. Now, my year 7 valuation was really conservative, and
that's good though.
The first time. So, you don't necessarily 100% know, and that is a projection. So we looked at internally, basically, okay, this is what we're going to hit. We're hitting this way quicker. Obviously, it drives up the IRR, and it was something that we couldn't refuse. It wasn't even like a negotiation per se when he offered. He basically offered it. I countered him a little bit higher to see where he would go. He met us halfway, and we said, yeah, go for it. I mean, and it was, fingers were crossed during due diligence that he wasn't going to find anything, because from a seller's standpoint, I looked at it, I was like, did I do everything I had to do here? Because it just happened so much faster than we thought, partially because of when we bought it, partially because of where we are in the market cycle and how aggressive commercial space has been, or the multifamily, sector has been for the last 7 years. But we took it and ran it. It was not our plan. Our plan was to look at it for 7 years, probably sell in 5, but we just executed that plan a lot quicker, partially because of the market, partially because of the rents we were achieving. But it was it definitely was not the plan going in.
Okay, so you got it with a 70% occupied. What was the occupancy when you guys sold 18 months later?
We were 93.
Okay, and were you utilizing a third party management company to help you with the improvements as well as the lease up?
Yes, we were. So we had one management company out of the box that originally helped me find the deal, and he did a good job, and I gave him probably more benefit of the doubt because he helped put the deal together for me. Mm-hmm. But we ended up firing him about 9 months. 10 months. Well, actually, 9 months into the process, we were getting offers, or not getting offers. The broker was saying, hey, your property's worth X, it's worth X, it's worth this. And I said, okay, let's go to market with it and see what happens. Now, inevitably, when the manager found out we were going to market, the operation sort of took a little bit of a dip. So I was actually on a flight the next day, went out there and fired him instantaneously. And then we had to find another third-party manager who actually came in, and absolutely, without him, that deal would have probably not have sold, and we probably would have not have done as well as we did. He came in and just absolutely saved the day, because we got up into the 90s relatively quickly after we did all the renovations. But then the delinquency was getting crazy, and the evictions were just adding up and adding up. And I said, what's going on here? Why is there a problem? This property's in a better location. The tenant base is better than that. The manager was putting in bad tenants. So when the occupancy dropped and he found out it was for sale, it was just the final straw for me. So I went out there and fired him really, very quickly, and then brought in our next manager who, I give all the credit in the world. If anyone listen, wants a manager in Columbus, Ohio, let me know. He's fantastic. And he came in, and I'll give him a lot of the credit for it. He more or less saved the day from a standpoint of, re-stabilizing a property that we had stabilized. And then it just, it took that second dip, but he came in and crushed it. He helped with the renovations. He helped with the lease up, all of that.
Got it. Okay. Good deal. And you paid just shy of 1.1. And how much CapEx did you put into this thing in that 18 months that you owned it?
So we budgeted up front about, give or take, it was just under $300,000. And then we also planned on using, we weren't doing any distributions for the first 12 months. So any cash flow that came out, we were putting back into the property. Now, the $300,000 CapEx budget that we budgeted was going to take care of everything that we need to do. It was parking lot, new exterior doors, lighting. There was 6 down units, and then, renovations of the units after due diligence. But then we ended up cash flowing, a good amount of money year one. So we ended up taking that, and because our plan was not to give out any distributions until after it was stable, we over-improved a couple units to show value to the next buyer. So when that came up, we actually looked at back and said, okay, we have money in the bank. I called all the investors. There was not many of them in the deal. There was about 10 investors in the deal. I said, hey, there might be a value play here if we renovate, 6 to 10 units, give or take, where we, upgrade the appliances, upgrade the countertops, and we can probably get a rent premium. So we ended up spending about $330,000 total in CapEx. The $30,000 was from cash flow that we brought in year one that we expect to have.
Okay. And the last question, what was the exit price?
It was just under 1.9, so it was 1.8750.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, that's some good gains and in an 18-month period of time. Congratulations.
Thanks.
So now to date, so you guys are up to just shy of 1,300 units. So you guys have been going gangbusters here for a number of years, and you've got another 400 plus slated to close by the end of the year. Talk to me a little bit about how your business model has changed since that first 48 unit deal. Are you looking? It seems like you're looking at larger complexes. Most of your acquisitions moving forward are much larger than that 48 unit. What types of markets are you looking in? Are you looking at distressed deals similar to this first one that are have a much lower economic occupancy that are primarily value add? So just give me the general overview of what your business looks like today as it's different from that first 48 unit property that you purchased.
Yeah, so that's a great question. So out of the box, I always wanted to do the heavier lifting deals. So we always wanted to target deals like that. Now, over the last couple of years, obviously, the market's changed. And, we focus in the Southeast for predominantly. We do have some properties up in the Midwest. And, finding those opportunities have been a little bit harder because a lot of those deals have already been bought and renovated. And so we have a two-pronged approach. The first 3 big deals we bought it was to serve as a benchmark. So we wanted to go in and buy properties that had a minor value add component, but served as a basis of cash flow going forward. So the 3 deals, the 3 biggest deals we bought after that were 12-year Fannie Mae loans that we said internally, those are going to be staples in our portfolio for the next 12 years. We're going to hold those and we're going to cash flow those to give us a foundation to go out and do the second prong, which is, look for those significantly, distressed assets. And then since then, we bought a 338 unit vacant property, and
wow.
The 400 unit property is a 700 unit. The 400 unit property is 70% occupied, has a ton of deferred maintenance. So that's what we've always done well. Even we bought an 80 unit that's actually on the market to sell. That was, it was well occupied, but the rents were $300 below market. So our approach is definitely value add, but to do those deals, you need a foundation of cash flow because, those deals don't cash flow. They don't make any money until you sell them or until you stabilize them, but we needed money to work off of. So we went out, I sought out the investors and my partner who wanted the passive cash flow, and we said, okay, we need a foundation piece. So the two deals that we're running today currently in our business are the value add deals, but also the long-term deals, which are solid cash flow, and those are just in better markets. We like those because of where we are in the market cycle, where if we can lock in long-term debt, we're comfortable going long on better vintage, better located properties for the long-term aspect of it. but we definitely excel buying the significantly distressed deals if we can find them.
Yep. No, I gotcha. And so what are the markets that you're currently in? Are you focusing on, 1, 2, or 3 markets primarily, or are you kind of dotted all across the map?
So I would say that, out of the box, I always recommend, pick 3 markets you like and be an expert in those markets. When I was at Marcus and Millichap, they preach that. When I worked, I'm part of a team, but my market was Ridgewood, Queens. It was one zip code. And when people ask me all the time, like, how do you start? Where do you find a market? Pick 10 markets you like and then be an expert in 3 of them. And go from macro to micro and pick 3 markets you like. So when we started for the first 2 years, it was basically, less than a handful of markets. It was 3 or 4 markets that we were actively trying to buy in. But given the time of the market cycle we're in, you have to be a little bit nimble. So right now, we buy basically North Carolina down to Florida, all along the coast, and all the way over to, Alabama. That southeast area we're super, knowledgeable about. And there are specific markets in each of those states that we will buy and we won't buy. But out of the box, it was definitely a handful of markets. It was basically Columbus, Ohio, Charleston, South Carolina, Greenville, South Carolina, and Jacksonville, Florida. That's it. And now, we can be a little bit more nimble. We have more experience. We have more resources. So we're okay with being a little bit more nimble. But with that being said, we only own properties in Jacksonville, Florida, Charleston, South Carolina, Greenville, and Alabama. Mm-hmm. So, and we're doing a development deal outside of Nashville. But so even with us being a little bit more open to different markets, we still are in the markets that we focus on. But we're okay in the Southeast because we understand the research and the demographics that need to go into a market before we buy. So if a deal does come up that is sizable in a different market, we'll explore it, but it's got to have size. So we can't buy a 50-unit deal in XYZ, Alabama, because we don't have the infrastructure. So for us to go into a new market, the deal really has to be over 250 units for it to make some sense for us to, start working on a new market.
And what is the minimum size? So you said the minimum size would be how many units?
I'd say 250, but realistically, 150 to 200 units plus for us to get into a new market. I mean, there was, perfect instance. We looked at a deal outside of Memphis. It was 140 units. We loved the deal. It was a great deal, but we just didn't have any scalability down there. And the travel, for us to get on a plane and to, it's a connecting flight, it just didn't make sense to go there because the cost of the tickets, the frequency we'd have to go down to see it. So for us to go into a new market, we would like, more size. Mm-hmm. But if it's a market that we're established in, we have no problem with buying a 40 unit, a 50 unit, an 80 unit, a 120 unit, but it's got to be in an area where we have great resources as well as infrastructure already set up. Because, we have 400 units in Greenville. If there's an 80 unit there, adding 80 units to that property is supported. If it's just a one-off 80-unit deal, it's a lot harder for us to get there. One, the cost associated with it is a little bit more expensive. But, a new market for us, we definitely want a bigger property. But in markets we're already established in, we're okay going down to 50, 80, 100 units.
Got it. And you guys are you're utilizing third-party management companies in all these different markets, correct? You're not in-house with your management, property management.
Correct. We're not there yet. One of our goals internally over the next 5 years is to have a management platform in-house. But I would say we got to get to, either, 2,000 units in a market or, 4,000 units under management before we afford that, just so it would support it. But in the Southeast, we have 2 management companies, our choice 1, choice 2. And then, further south, like the Alabama area, we use another one. So we only have 3 management companies that we talk to. They're all regionally focused. So, our Southeast, they don't really go to Alabama, Mississippi, so we use them in the Southeast. And then on the Alabama side, we have another management company. But third-party management, I highly recommend it as long as you have the right systems in place to make sure they're not, they're doing everything you want them to do.
Got it. I want to talk a little bit about the acquisition side of your business. You mentioned that very first year, the 48 unit, you found that one via direct mail campaign. Is that on these larger deals? Are you finding that direct mail and those kind of organic efforts are working for you, or are most of the deals that you're finding today through broker relationships?
So that's a great question. I mean, I would say that most of our deals have been through broker relationships. it doesn't, I don't utilize direct mail as much as I did when I started. I'm a real believer in it. I do believe it has a much better success rate in the mom and pop owners. So if a mom and pop owner owns a 350 unit and you can direct mail them, you'll have the same success. But when you're direct marketing to some of these larger, professional companies, if you consider Toro Real Estate Partners, a professional in the industry, if I get a direct mail, I'll call up just to see what it is. But, if you're going to make a lowball offer, I'm never going to sell it. Also, we have institutional investors behind our deals that, in the contracts, it clearly defines that you have to go out and get 3 broker opinions before you can sell something. So, when you have the real large professional REITs, and if you're buying their deals, you're not going to strike one of those deals off from a direct mail campaign. Now, you can cold call them and see what you could put together, but I would say direct mail has a significantly more success ratio when you're dealing with more mom and pop individuals, and that's a Marcus Millichap philosophy. Get the listings from the mom and pops, sell and build relationships with professionals when you sell them deals.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, our bigger deals are mostly sourced by either broker relationships or property management contacts. And then the smaller deals we've done have definitely been more, direct, pick up the phone, cold call, and direct marketing. But it's hit or miss, but our deals are definitely more on the broker relationship side.
Got it. Now I know you guys are working to close a 400 plus unit property here by the end of the year. I'm assuming that was sourced through a broker relationship. But where I'm going with this question is I want to get your sense from where you think we're at in the real estate cycle, and have you seen the pipeline or the opportunities coming your way? Have you seen it start to dry up a little bit to where there's, now you have to look at a 500 deals to find that one needle in the haystack? And I'm trying to compare today to maybe 2, 3, 4 years ago. Can you give me kind of your perspective on that?
That's an excellent question. I think it's something that, a lot of people talk about. The opportunities are still there, and they get sent to me every day. But exactly what you said, 3 years ago, you looked at 100 deals and you really liked one. Now you look at 200-300 deals, or maybe not 200-300 per se. I get a lot more deals sent to me today with more or less brokers throwing Hail Marys trying to get something done, because I think a lot of sellers are, wow, look what's happening in this market. Let's try and get a crazy number.
Yeah.
So you see more deals today than you did, but less of the deals make sense today. So it's just a function. I tell people all the time, if you've never bought in a market and you don't know what you're doing, and a broker sends you a deal and you offer something and win it, you probably overpaid, because that's probably been shown to other people who passed or don't see the value in it. Now, if you know something, like if you know a zoning change is going to happen, or if you know that your cost of capital is cheaper, or whatever it is, then yes, you might be buying a great deal. But in today's market, more than ever, we've seen that you got to be a little bit more defined to your underwriting standards and not bending in the rules, because people are still underwriting to salaries and wages from 5 years ago or 3 years ago, and it's gone up. The cost of a good manager is a little bit more expensive today than it was, so the expenses are a little bit higher. So you just got to be a little bit more careful on your underwriting, but it's just taken more deals before you find one. I mean, this year we closed on 2 deals, and we offer, we try and make at least an offer a week on properties, and the deals that we actually offer on, we probably look at 10 before we even put an offer in, and that offer is way below what they want. But this year more than ever, our pipeline is filled with deals that are either in contract or went to market, and I don't think they're going to close, because I just don't think that the pricing makes sense. So our pipeline's a lot bigger this year than in years past of deals to track, monitor, and follow up with. But we've seen it more so where, we get a call from a broker, what's the pricing? I don't even underwrite it. I just throw it in the pipeline and say, okay, let's follow up with that in 60 days, because there's no point of wasting time on the expectations out of the box, because it's just not worth what we think it's worth.
Got it. Are you starting to see a lot of buyers not perform in this marketplace just because the prices have gotten so out of whack?
Yep. I've seen that more this year than in the last 3. In the last 3, if you walked on a deal or you didn't raise the money or something went wrong, you basically got blacklisted. And every every seller interview you did, they're like, when was have you walked on a deal? And if the answer is no, okay. If the answer is yes, you're not buying this deal. Now I find, the deal that we're closing, that deal fell out of contract twice. So, it was overpriced and the renovation component is significant. But I see a lot more deals falling apart now from the buyers not being able to execute. One, the financing's getting a little bit tougher, I would say, depending on who you are as a buyer. But also, equity guys are getting a little bit skittish sometimes. So you go in with, you have a very good equity roster, and then you start pitching the deal to your equity guys, and your equity guys are like, no, I'm not, the risk reward's not there, or this isn't the right deal for us. So I see a lot more deals falling out of contract because of equity not getting behind what the sponsor thinks they can deliver. Mm-hmm. But for sure, now deals fall apart. There's a deal this morning at 8 o'clock in the morning. One of my equity guys called me and said, hey, what do you know about Norcross, Georgia? And I said, it's a nice little sub-market. He said, we have an opportunity. Can you guys run this deal? We have to close by Thursday. And I'm like, no, I can't close on a $22 million deal in 7 days. He's like, no, we'll put up the LP capital. We just need a sponsor to run the deal. And I said, okay, that's fine, but I haven't even seen the deal. I can't just buy the deal because of that. And he's like, listen, the guy that brought us the deal doesn't have the 10% that we require the sponsor to bring to the table. I said, well, if you can get me a month extension, then maybe I could get down there and tour it, but I can't just close on Thursday for a $20 million deal that I don't know anything about.
Sure.
So it's just equity sponsors are falling short raising money, and deals are falling apart all over the place. That's why, internally every Monday morning at 10 o'clock, we do a pipeline review, and it's basically where all the deals that we offered on or where deals came out to market, the pricing, and every Monday we go through it and we say, okay, we have to follow up with these 4 deals this week. And we got to make sure that we hit them to see if they're still active, if they closed, if they're falling apart. But it's absolutely critical today more than ever, in my opinion, that you have to have a really good pipeline and track the deals that you offered on or you looked at, because a lot of deals aren't.
Follow-up is everything in this business, whether it's deals that are because deals are falling out of contract because of buyers not being able to meet expectations or not come up with the capital. Whatever the reason might be, follow-up is everything in this business, whether it's following up with a broker, following up with an owner, following up with different lenders. It's everything. It means everything. And those that actually can get that worked into their daily, weekly schedule on the acquisition side are going to beat out those that are inconsistent with the follow-up routine. So I want to change gears a little bit, John, if we could. And, we've been talking about all the positives, right? All the great things that are happening in your business. But I feel like we learn, me personally, but I think everyone learns from all their mistakes, right? I mean, we all make mistakes, and the more mistakes we make, the faster we progress, the faster we learn. I feel like if you're not making mistakes, then you're not progressing in your life or in your business. And so talk to me about maybe one of the downsides of your business, or something that's happened, a mistake that's been made, a loss that's occurred since you've started investing in real estate. But more so, what I'm looking for here is I want to hear about that loss or that mistake or that challenge that you faced, but more so how you overcame it and what you learned from it.
Yeah, so that's a great question. I know a lot of, there's a ton of podcasts out there, and a lot of people don't, talk about the negatives, and people listen, and there's a ton of new investors out there that, everything's positive. No, there's a lot of negatives. I mean, on my first deal we bought, we did well on it, and it's partially because we went in with a plan, but the market helped us out a lot. I mean, if that deal, we bought that deal today, I don't think we're having the same conversation about, doubling our money in 18 months. I don't think that happens if I bought that deal today and made the mistakes I made. So yeah, there's a ton of mistakes. I mean, knock on wood, we've never lost money. We've never lost money on a deal. Now, we might have lost some upside because we didn't execute our plan 100%. But I would say, the biggest mistake that I made was probably thinking I knew more than people around me. And it was, maybe being a little bit hard-headed, but that deal in particular, my manager was telling us to do things that I, in my gut, didn't believe, but he was the expert there. And I gave him the benefit of the doubt for the first 8 months, and then finally believed what I said and said, okay, no, we're not doing it that way. We're doing it this way. And he was just, focus on the interior, get these units renovated. And what happened was we filled up the property with bad tenants because the exterior did not have the appeal that a good tenant would want.
Mm-hmm.
So, that was the biggest mistake I made. Luckily, I made it on my first deal. Now, every deal we buy, it's exterior in. And I was told always to do it exterior in, but this is a guy that was on site managing this deal for 2 years and said, no, I know what we have to do here. But, when we buy a deal, the first thing we do is it's all rebranding. We do all the exterior, landscaping, parking lot, whole 9 yards on the exterior, then rebrand it, and that's when we start focusing on the interior. Because now the tenancy, there's a new sheriff in town. It has a new appeal from the exterior, and it helps that reposition go a lot faster than, it's great if you have a down unit to go in there and blast through it and spend $12,000 a door, but a good tenant's not going to want to live in a bad property. So you have to shake that bad connotation of the property quicker before you can get your good tenants in there. So, that's a mistake that we made that was absolutely washed away by the market. So if I would have made that mistake today, it would have hurt. So I would say, that mistake alone, not going exterior in definitely is a big one. Luckily, the market helped us. But, that's something that, we pride ourselves on now is going in and finding out what we have to do to turn the tenant, profile, if that's the plan going into the property.
No, I think that's a great point. We do the same exact thing with our mobile home communities. I mean, it's always exterior first. We fix roads, trim trees, clean up units. If there's any units that we're acquiring in the sale, we will fix those up, put nice decorative fencing up, put a new signage up, rebrand the property. And then we start working on the residents. So like in the mobile home park space, like one of the general improvements that typically needs to be made is actually to the residents' homes themselves. They own their homes, but a lot of times you have residents that have infractions, meaning like they'll have things stored outside that shouldn't be stored outside. They'll have a car that's not registered. They'll have skirting that's missing from the bottom of their home. But we do our part first. We go in and do our improvements, show that we're spending money, show there's a new sheriff in town, show that this place is not going to be run how it was run prior to new ownership coming in. Once we do our improvements, spend money on the park, show that we're making a better place for everyone to live, then we get on to the residents themselves, which is very similar to like you guys going from the exterior to the interior and in that manner. So that helps in a big way. If we just went in and took over a community that was had different forms of cosmetic distress and didn't do anything on our end, but just went in and started hammering on the residents to fix up their units, but yet the park looks like crap, it's going to be a very challenging sell on our part, but also we're not going to get cooperation. It's just not going to happen, and we're not going to attract the new, the new better residents to any of the. Let's say we have empty homes or new homes we're trying to sell in there. We're not going to attract those high quality residents that we're looking for if we take that approach to it. So no, I think that's a great advice that you gave there. Now I want to ask you somewhat of a not a tough question, but I might catch you off guard with it. You've been doing this now for a number of years. You've learned a lot. You've done a lot of transactions. You've been involved both on the brokerage side and also the sponsor side. So you know both sides of the table. Knowing what you know today, if you can go back into year one when you first started buying investment property. So maybe let's talk about go back into year one. Year one could be that 48 unit property. Knowing what you know today after all the additional transactions you've done, what advice would you have given yourself back then, back there in year one?
I would say that the biggest piece of advice that I give myself looking in the past would be, educate yourself property and surround yourself with a good group of people that you can trust. Because if real estate, I think you would agree, you set out to do a plan A to Z. It never goes A to Z. It goes up and down. And to get yourself back on course, you need a good group. You need a good core foundation of people that you can trust. So I would look back and say, the people that were telling me that I was making a mistake, and I said, no, my manager knows better. I would go back and say, and if I would have surrounded myself with more like-minded people or more people that I could reach out to, would have definitely helped that deal. If not do better, but get to the finish line quicker or get to a place we wanted to be at a lot better.
How would you suggest someone that's just getting into this business, they're just getting started, they haven't even bought their first multifamily property, but how would you suggest they surround themselves with others that that are experienced in this niche? I mean, is it as simple as just going out to an investment club meeting, getting online and networking in the different, multifamily forums that exist out there? But do you have any suggestions that you would give that new guy that's literally just starting to dive in? He's just getting his feet wet.
Yeah, I would say the thing that, one thing that I did, and it doesn't have to be the right or wrong way to do it, is, when I set out, when I first started, it was to meet 30 new people every single month that were doing something in this business. Or now it's just meet 30 new people every single month. You want to surround yourself with like-minded people, and that could just be going to a local RIA, reaching out on the multifamily forums online or listening to podcasts. But the thing you have to do, I'm not going to pick up the phone and call you because I don't know who you are. If you listen to someone speak on one of these podcasts or you go to an event where someone's speaking, don't be scared. Walk over to that individual, take them out for coffee or say, hey, would you mind if I give you a call if I have a question? If they say no, then that's not probably the person you want to deal with.
Right.
Because they don't want they want to help you, But you have to put yourself in that position, because I know there are people that call me all the time and say, hey, this, that, or the next thing. That's great, but do what you say you're going to do, and go up and put yourself out there, because all of us, whether we've bought 20 deals or one deal or no deals, if you're making offers and you're putting yourself out there, you're taking the steps you need to take. Mm-hmm. So by reaching out to those individuals and asking them, hey, I'm not going to call you every hour and a half asking you a question, but if I send you an email that's well thought out, and I say, can you give me 15 minutes of your time on the phone? Most of us will take 15, 20 minutes to sit down and help somebody, point them in the right direction. Or I say it all the time, I make emails to my property managers all the time for someone. I'm looking in Columbus, Ohio. That's fine. Here it is. Here's his name. Here's his contact information. I'll make the introduction online, and there you go. And if that's all it is, that'll help you more than trying to figure it out on your own. So I would say, reach out to the experts and ask for help. Just you have to flat out ask them, because they're not going to offer unless you ask them.
Sure. No, that's great advice. And now, John, we're going to enter in what I like to call the last segment of the show. It's the golden nugget segment of the show. And what one final golden nugget of advice or wisdom? You given us a ton already, but just if you had one last final golden nugget of advice or wisdom that you would leave with our listeners today that may inspire and motivate them as they progress in their real estate investing career, what would that one last golden nugget be? And this could be your favorite motivational quote, maybe some core principles you live by, success habits. No right or wrong answer here, my friend.
So the two things, and the first one that I say all the time, nobody's going to knock on your door and deliver you a single family flip or a multifamily property. You have to go do it. And even if you don't know what you're doing, if you do it, good things will come to those who take action. And the other one is just, make sure you do what you say you're going to do. If you tell an investor you're going to email them something, email them something. If you tell a broker you're going to put an offer in, put an offer in. If you put an offer in, explain why you offered what you offered. So it's not just some random, I don't know what I'm doing, here's a lowball offer because I read a book on it. Explain, do what you say you're going to do, and take action. Because if you don't, it's not going to be done for you. Because, when you hang up the phone and that's the last call you make, somebody in my company or me, I'm going to pick up the phone and make that next call, which could be the next deal. So do what you say you're going to do and take action and do it.
Yep, that's great advice. Well, John, I really appreciate it, my friend. This has been an awesome show. I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to come on here and share your story with us. You're making big waves, bud, and just keep up the efforts. I mean, you're taking action, and it's proof of concept here. You take action, and look what you've done in a short period of time. You guys have built quite a substantial portfolio, and they're out there making it happen, even in what I like to consider a challenging market time. I mean, we're in a challenging part of the real estate cycle. You've got to work extra hard to find quality deals. And I always like to say that if in a real estate cycle like we're in today, John, if you can get good at finding opportunities, getting out there, networking with brokers, and working your way to the top of their priority list, and finding opportunities in a tight market like we're in today, if there is a correction in the future, which there will be of some sort, don't know where, it's all local, it's all specific, right, to whatever market you might be in, but there will be a different a different slide of the real estate cycle. I mean, we all know that it kind of runs like a roller coaster. And so if you can get really good at a challenging cycle like we're in today, then you should be able to clean up shop when others go running for the hills, right? I mean, if that happens again, which we know real estate cycles occur, I mean, they go up and they go down, you should be able to clean up shop. Would you agree with that statement?
I couldn't agree more. That's for sure. To 100%. I couldn't even say it any better than you did.
Yeah, good deal. Well, John, it's been an absolute pleasure. And for those that want to learn more about John and his company, they can go visit his website. It's Toro, TOROREP.com. Again, TOROREP.com. John, that's all we have for today, my friend. You have a phenomenal week. Have a great holiday coming up. Christmas is on its way, so you have a great holiday season, my friend, and we'll talk again soon, okay?
Awesome, man. I appreciate it. Kevin, thank you very much for having me on the show. And anything anyone needs, reach out. I'm here to give back, and I appreciate it. Enjoy what's left of this holiday weekend.
Congratulations! Now you've got more of the best tricks of the trade in building massive amounts of passive income from real estate. For more amazing resources, visit realestateinvestingforcashflow.com, and we'll see you next Monday morning.